Hello everyone, this is Kat with VCS Embroidery. In this video, I will be showing you how to use Premiere Plus 2 embroidery software for the basic digitizing. So today we will go over just the basic digitizing, not a whole lot of detail or anything like that, but this is using the Premiere Plus 2 embroidery software. So we're going to go ahead and let's go down. I already have it pre-opened. Just go ahead and open up your software today. Under here, we have this nice little tool set down here, bunch of little things we're going to work eventually on, but we're going to go ahead and go to the fifth one here, which is Premiere Plus 2 Create. That is where you're going to go and be able to create digitized items off of photos or logos sent over from customers or whatever anybody is looking for. Today, I am just going to show you kind of the basics. So under here, you have a few different options. As you can see, the one I go ahead and use is load a picture into a paint window. Now, for future, say if you're working on an image, you decide, hey, I need to stop, I need to save, I need to close down, I'll start it up later. Well, go ahead and again, you will open up everywhere you've come, but then you're going to go load existing design to start back off where you left. So, but today, as we're starting fresh, we're going to do a load picture into paint window. Let's go ahead and hit next down here. Now you get three more options and social media way as well, but we are going to do load a picture. So under here, this will give you all your areas you can get from. There are just a lot of different options wherever you have landing for yours to choose from. Mine, I just literally have a folder, color pages for designs. Under here, I am actually just going to choose this really basic one. It is a heart on an anchor, kind of sideways look. The reason I'm choosing this is I want to show you guys a little cool tool that is also available. So once you select it, we're going to go ahead and hit next here. Here, I'm not really worried about it right now, but you can change it up, get it closer to what you want. But right now, it's good where it's at. We're just going to throw it into a hoop. Go ahead and hit next. And the next area, you will be able to choose your hoop. So if you have other hoops, or for instance, different machines, you can go all under here. There's plenty of hoops available, all different machines. If your hoop is not listed under your machine, you can always hit all hoops and you can see them all. Eventually, you can actually add your hoops. Like I have my section, My Hoops, has a mix of our Viking hoops from our Hispanas and some of our hoops for our brothers, some of our hoops for our baby lock machines, just kind of a variety of hoops that are in here. We are going to choose the 100 by 100 hoop today, just kind of a basic 4 by 4 hoop. I'm going to do it in a natural plane instead of doing it rotated. Really, it's going to do no difference since it's a 4 by 4 hoop. But let's just stick with the natural. Let's go ahead and hit OK today. Here, you could also change the size of the image. So you can make it, say you want your 4 by 4 hoop, but you want your image to only be 3 inches across. You would go ahead and hit enter design size, and down here you would change either you want the width a certain at max or a height at certain size. Me, let's just go ahead and run it this way so you guys get the idea of how to do basic digitizing. So here is where if you had multiple colors, you could break it down to color zones. It's really just a black and white photo, but this will find every little teeny spot just because this image is not, for instance, a vector image. A vector is a very clean, crisp image. This, I just kind of pulled it off the internet just to be able to show you guys how to use this, okay? So let's go ahead and hit finish. Now this has dropped it into the paint area on the software here. So you will see up here that you'll have a lot more of the paint. You'll have paint over here. I'm not worried about this. You can play around with it if you'd like. I really haven't used it, but it's something you play with. But really, we're going to go over here to the precise create. Sorry, I cannot talk today. But besides that, so we're just going to go up here. Now, here is where you're going to have a bunch of different kind of options you're going to eventually kind of go through, learn, have fun. without like having this video, just come in, drop any image, just come in and have fun. Kind of play around, see what you can do. You'll find different things that you're going to honestly go, that's kind of cool. But, so over here, I'm going to go ahead and right click. I'm going to change the color instead of it making it blue. I'm going to change it to a pink. Just because, preferably, I like to start out with pink. I never go with the color that is actually on the image because it will make it harder to digitize. For instance, if I make my color over here black and I'm trying to digitize this, I'm not going to see where I need to fix. You want to do it a color that's going to pop off of it. Later, once you're done digitizing it, yeah, change it to the colors you need it to be. But this will help. A lot of times I will write down if there is multiple colors, write it down what color is for what. Like for instance, pink, let's say it's black, would go for black. Say if you had blue and we changed it to red over here, we would on our sheet put red is for blue or whichever way you want to do it. But this is kind of the way I have done it for a few years now. So I'm going to show you a few different ways here. First, we're just going to do a basic fill. So all I did was right on the satin line, I just clicked it off so it's no longer highlighted. It's just selected for fill pattern. Over here is create area or line. Go ahead and click on that. I always zoom in. I feel more comfortable zooming in on the image, having it as about the biggest I can go on the screen, just because then I can see every little detail. Obviously, this is a heart, a little on the basic side, but we're going to start down in this point, okay? On your keyboard, you are going to hold Control, plus with your mouse, then you're going to hit the left point, so it makes a dot. Technically a square, I should say, because the next one will be a dot. You're going to release Control to make just the round dots. The square is considered a sharp corner or making it where it won't. So I will quickly show you here. See how it bows there? That is because it's round. Now watch when I'm going to hold Control. So right underneath my mouse, there's a little box all of a sudden shows up. That's going to indicate that it's going to turn it into a box, not the circle like when I release on Control. So if I'm holding the Control and I touch this circle, see how it sharpened it? That's what it's going to do. So I'm just going to grab this. Let's just go ahead and continue doing the outline on this heart here. So FYI, when you come back down into here, again, you're going to want it to be that sharp corner. Now I see it's a little bit not where it should be. We're going to take care of that before we hit the right control on the mouse. We're just kind of right now just going over, making it as close as we can, eyeballing it, but we will fix it before we finish. So I finished it up here. Now we're just going to move the circles a little bit with the mouse and just kind of go around, make it as perfect as you want or the way it should look, vice versa, however you feel with it. Obviously, this image, because if you see it, is very pixelated. Like I said, it wasn't the best image to pull off the computer / off the internet, just because if I remember, it was actually a smaller image, but I went ahead and chose it anyways. So just cleaning it up a little bit more here, just trying to get it to look a little bit sharper, a little bit more like a clean heart, I guess you could say. And also make sure there's no bowed out areas. Okay, here it looks pretty good. So since that is now there, we are going to right click on our mouse. Now you could see the heart has filled in. Now, the nice part with Premiere Plus 2 software is it's a lot better than the older software that was out in the past. This one you can actually, if you go to where it says home up in your left corner, you go ahead and click on that. You can actually hit edit points. This is where you could go back through, clean it up some more, make it without actually seeing the underneath. make it a little bit more rounder, make it a little bit more prettier. And I'm just going to clean it a little bit. Okay, to me, that looks pretty good. Now this lovely little orange zero with a line with a dot coming off of it, this is where you can actually move your inside of your design. So if you see it now, I'm rotating it all the way around. So something with a heart like this, or any image, because this is at an angle, I tend to go with it. So for instance, it's a slanted image. I'm going to try to go pretty much as slanted with it as possible. So another thing I prefer to kind of do is, so you have your start point, your end point. So it's indicating that it is going to start in this area. It's going to most likely come up to here, come down, go to this point, that type of thing, and end back in the same area. I try to have it start and end in a different area unless I'm doing an outline on it. When I'm doing an outline on it, you have to start and end in the same spot, or it's going to cut and it's just going to take more time on your embroidery machine. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and quickly, I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. So I just went up to the kind of upper right of the screen. It says Design Player. I'm just going to hit the play button here. So you've seen where it started. It's going to go up, kind of do the one kind of little hump of the heart, then back over to the other. Let's speed this up a little bit. And then now it's going to fill it all together. So that's kind of what I meant by it's going to start at one spot, go up, kind of make it go into the other section, and then come down and end in that point. Now I want to show you if I take the start, so I'm holding onto it so I can drag it and drop it into somewhere else. So let's say I want to start here, but it's still going to end there. So now, showing you what I'm talking about, now it's actually going to start in that area. So it'll go there, and then it's going to start over to the opposite little hump area, and then it will now continue to the bottom. And that's where it will end. Will be closer to the bottom. So speed it up here so you can see what I am talking about. So there we go. Now we're at where it ended. So that's just doing a basic fill stitch. Now with the Premiere Plus 2 software, you can right click on your image or the highlighted fill stitch you're working with, or if it's a satin stitch, anything like that, you can right click on it and it will give you the properties. So for this area, if I all of a sudden decided I want to add a line around it, I can do a running stitch, double stitch, zigzag double stitch, triple stitch, satin line, and that one, yeah, I just don't use that when I have a fill just because it does not look right. But so on, we'll do that in a different section. So with here, again, since this is a 4x4 image, we are actually going to change this to a medium. So that is going to do an underlay with a medium. Depending on what type of material you are using, you will fluctuate if you're going to do a low, no underlay, medium underlay, or a very high underlay. You can also do compensation. This is the angle, so I showed you how to do it just manually, just like looking at it. You can also always come into here, change the angle yourself this way. We have density, so what that does, I'm going to move this over so I can show you. Density, let's put it to an 8. This will really show you what I'm talking about. So if you look at the heart back here, watch when I hit apply. See how all of a sudden there's all these lines. Now I'm going to take off no underlay so you can see without those, so it doesn't look like squares. But this is what it looks like. So if I go to 6, it's get a little bit more tighter. If I go to 3, it's almost tight, but it's a little broken up. Now that would look pretty cute, personally, but I want to keep it really nice, that thicker, full image. So since having that done there, I wanted to show you guys under here. Normally, with an image this size, I would actually be choosing pattern 4 because it's a more opened. The stitches are farther apart, and it's really clean. This number three pattern would kind of be when you want to go a little bit smaller. Number one pattern is a very small one. It's very, very tight stitched. It can, if you faintly look here, it looks like there's almost like lines going through. It kind of makes that look on some things if you do it on things that are of a big, broad area, kind of like how this heart is. It's going to look a little odd. But back under this, the arrow here, you can play around. You could see all different things. Like there's butterflies. For instance, it will give you butterflies, and that's where. So you see how you only get partial of the butterflies. I want to have a butterfly in there. You would actually grab the O. Woo! Sorry. Press OK. Grab the O, and that's where you would move it, and you can actually put the butterfly in the heart. So you can go through, you can play around with this, just have fun with it. There are heart designs in here. Like I honestly really love this one with the hearts with wings. Now I will say, personally, been there, done it. These take a very long time to run. Anything that changes just a standard stitching, they will take time to run. I've had images that when I just run it normal, it can be anywhere from 15, 20 minutes, depending on image, obviously. But when I go to change it to something like this, it can add 15, 20 minutes on top of it because of it is a detail. It has to take its time. Even if you have your machine set at saying 1,000 stitches, it's still it's not going to run that fast because of the detail. But let's go ahead and go back in here. I know my number I always use, number 4, standard, it's in there, okay? So that is in there. That's the basic digitizing of a section. Except for I wanted to show you guys with a triple stitch. I normally do about a 1.5, unless it was a smaller image, obviously 1 millimeter, but 1.5 millimeter for the border. Make sure it is a closed border. This is where I can actually change the color. So I'm going to leave it green so you guys can see it. So now, for instance, we have a pink heart with a green outline. So it's going to do a color change. You have your pink, and then it's going to color change to whatever color you want as the outline. So kind of a cool thing. Again, let's change it to a satin line. So 1.0 millimeter width is the smallest you can go on a satin stitch on Premiere 2 software. And then I do a density 3 or 4. Something like this I might end up actually changing to a 4, just because if it's sometimes you will break threads on your machine in this area because it's too tight at a number 3 density. So I am going to show you here what I am talking about. So as you can see, still looks pretty good. You can kind of see a few little spots here, but honestly I will say from future reference is it you just got to play around which one you like the best. Obviously, sharp needle you have in your machine, less likelihood you're going to have any breaking of the threads inside in the fill stitch. Me, I just kind of shoot from one to the other. It just honestly is how I prefer it to look. And also, obviously, if you wanted to go back through and change your satin line, you want to change it to a 3. You don't have to go back over here and click in it. You just go over here, you click on the line section. I'm going to change it to a 3. Let's see how it looks. I press apply and OK. And here, as you can see, it's nice, clean, and crisp. It's really easy to work with. If you are looking, and I'm going to back out this way a little bit. If you were looking, say if you were just stealing this heart from this image, let's just say that. Up in your upper left corner here, there is what's called box select, freehand select, freehand point select. I use box select most of the time. It's a little bit easier to work with, especially if you're just doing one design or one image or one selected area from your image. Now, if you're doing multiple, but you want to move this one with that, but not this, you can kind of play around with these. But I would have to say freehand point is your next best friend because it's just like when I was laying down the points, same thing on this. You can do the control to make a sharp area and just start clicking around. But so I have my image here. I can rotate my image with the rotate 45. So have fun with that. You can modify your image. So if you're like, oh, I really would like that smaller, go in here. You can keep it proportionally. You can keep it not. Um, let's just say I wanted to go smaller with it. So you guys can see. Just go in. I don't have to make it smaller. I can just go like that. So much easier. Didn't have that in the past. Makes your life easier when you're actually in digitizing something. So I'm going to back this out to back where we were. So since we have that, let's say we're going to do different colors, okay? Go ahead and let's go back. Just highlighting your pattern fill over here. We're going to go back up to Precise Create. Under Precise Create over to your left-hand side, we have Color Change. So go ahead and click on that. I'm just going to go ahead and let's choose blue on this one, okay? So blue, press OK. That is now going to give me another color to work with. So I want to go up here because I want to show you guys how to create the circle underneath. Now, I've always made it where I have another color to indicate where something is. Some people do a little bit different. It's just kind of how you want to do it. So for instance, I'm just going to use the color before. I'm going to just make this circle real quick. So I'm going to pattern again. I'm going to do create area or line. And I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to make this circle. Now, there is a section under here where you can find that it will automatically pre-have, for instance, circles, stars, hearts, triangles, squares, etc. There's a lot under there. Um, it's a hit and miss. I'll sometimes use it, not always though, just because not always does a circle work correctly when you shrink it. It gets deformed. It looks really bad. But I have this here. Okay, now that's solid. But in my head, I'm going to know and I'm going to remember I need to cut this out later. So I will walk you guys through what I am talking about. So we're going to go back to your secondary color. We're going to go back up to this top area and we're going to go ahead and create an area. So again, I'm holding control on my keyboard and I'm going to make a sharp point. I'm going to release so it's back to the circles. I'm going to do 2 circles and another heart. So I held the control again and clicked. Now, I'm going to do this a little bit different because I love doing detail in my images. You can easily just make this all one image, but I really love doing detail into something very, very basic. So again, it's all up to you, but I'm going to hold control. We're going to go up to about here. Again, about in this area, make it sharp. Go there. Okay. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to quickly show you how to make a circle inside of this stitching. But I will also show you kind of my detail that I love to do to make an image pop from just a basic image. I've had customers send me images and ask if I can make it look prettier. And when I get their permission to do that, I have fun with it. So I finish this out. Again, we're going to go ahead and right click with our mouse, now we have our full image. You see how you can't see that circle now? So this is another thing. You can either do this at the start, however you want to do it. But now since I have a now fill pattern down to my left here, go back up to the color change, click on it. Let's go ahead and do light gray. Press OK. That's going to give that here. I'm going to grab this circle, now bring it down to it. Now I can see where I need to cut out. That needs to become a hole. So make sure you click back onto the color you are working with, not the color you have dropped on top to make that circle area, okay? So with being on that, we're going to go up to kind of about the middle of the screen where it says hole. So we're going to click on that. We're just going to kind of outline this circle, the silver circle, but we are selected on the blue. And you're just going to kind of go around it. And I'll show you what this little fun tool does. And obviously try to make it as best as you can. Once you have it cut out, it's a little bit easier to see your image, see what you're working with. So, looks pretty good. I went ahead and right-clicked with my mouse anywhere on the screen. I'm going to now go to this silver and I'm going to delete that. Now I have a hole in my image. So now I can see where it was supposed to be. Some people, and I'm just going to go ahead and back this up so I can show you. So I'm just going to delete that. Some people will end up going into properties. This is where the density can kind of be your friend too. So you can change it to about a 9, press apply. So now you can see that circle. Again, you go to holes and now you can create it. So there's a few different ways you can create holes in your images. One way obviously can take a little bit longer, which is the way I honestly prefer to do, which is the first way I showed you. It's kind of been my thing that I've done since day one. I don't know why. It to me is easier to work with. My my mother that I've been teaching how to digitize, she prefers doing it this way, so she can actually see the underneath. So now she's seen she cut it out really good. She'll go back over here, hit properties, and bring this down to a 2. And there you go. Same exact, it gets you to the same point. Again, it's just how you prefer to do it. This is how I would prefer, or the other way is how I would prefer to do it. But either way, that will work for you to work with it. But what I was going to show you, and I'm going to just go ahead and delete this. For me, I want to show you something that's kind of like fancy, I guess you could say, to make this simple image look amazing. So it's not so simple. Literally, to just make it look fantastic. So I'm just going to quickly create it. It's not going to be perfect just because I'm doing this for video. I want it to look good. I'll fix it later, but this is just to kind of so I could show you guys what I'm talking about. So I need to go to home. I'm going to edit points because I'm going to move my starting point and my end point. So I'm going to have it start where it is, but I'm going to have it end up here. Okay? So the reason I am doing this is because I am actually going to make a satin line here to make this so it looks 3D. So, and I like to, when combining colors, I try to keep them where I can keep them running so the machine doesn't have to slow down and cut and restart and potentially snap your thread or so on and so forth, or whatever our machines just love to do. I try to just minimize all that, okay? So again, I'm going to make this kind of go with it. We are going to go up to the create section again. I am now going to unclick the pattern fill. It's going to auto select satin line. I'm going to change that to just a runner stitch. Okay, create a line again. I'm now just going to go about middle of this line, okay? So I'm about, middle-ish. we will find out when we go to do this. Now, there's a few different ways you can do a satin line. There's satin column, a little bit more difficult to work with. That you wouldn't even have done the runner stitch, you would have actually just done it from where it was. I honestly like more working under the actual satin line, so I'm going to go there. I do want to change the thickness, but I'm not sure exactly how thick I need to go yet. So I'm just going to leave it set to what I have it at that I last used it, which is 1.0. Now, every time you use your software, you use your satin line or triple stitch, fill stitch, whatever it will remember that last time you changed it. Even if you close and shut down your system, it will still restart you exactly where you were. So I'm just going to leave this so we have it. Make sure create area line is selected again. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to, as best as we can, make a circle right now. This one is a little bit harder because obviously I don't have a line I'm working with. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Now, you're going to get to the point where you got to connect the two. I always put a dot either in or out, wherever you're more comfortable with, but away from this because it's going to give you, if you look on the screen, there is a little kind of like four arrows pointing away from a centerpiece. That is just indicating, and I can go to each one of them, it's just indicating you can move it. It just is now making that area movable. So now I'm going to grab this circle and I'm going to put it a little bit over the other circle. So about like that. So that just makes sure that it's going to stitch a little bit over it. Um, and then we're just going to move this, make sure it's as close as we can. Obviously, once I have the stitch actually down and made, it might be a little bit easier to work with, but I'm just kind of moving my circles around here, or my points, just to make sure it looks a little bit more even, so it's not so like confined or buckling like it is here. But I can work with that. Now you see I right clicked. See how much smaller this is compared to that circle? That's where we're going to go back into the properties. So again, you can either right click over on the left side of your screen, or you can actually just right click on the image that you want it to be selected. So with having that up, let's go ahead and go up to, I think, let's do 3.5. That's pretty close. I'm just going to go 3.7. That looks pretty good. I'm going to press OK. So I'll go to the home section. I'm going to do the edit points, and this is where I can move my points. And I'm just going to make sure they kind of fall in between the background, so where I can see the black back here. Right now, I'm more focused on getting this looking good. And then again, I can go back into properties and change the size. So I'll most likely go up to maybe even 4 millimeters. But we'll see in a second here. So I think that is pretty good there. Let me go ahead and pump that up. Okay. See how it already gave it a different detail. So, and this is where you could, honestly, you could go through, you could have fun. I'm just trying to take, so if you ever have seen an anchor on a ship, there's detail to it. So technically, personally me, I would end up going and doing an outline around this. Now, I would not do where I did an outline with this. So for instance, coming up here on the fill pattern, I would not do an outline. Just because that is going to do an outline here. And it potentially would show. And it's not going to look good. So you wouldn't want to do that, honestly. So we're not going to do that today. But this is where you could run an outline around it. But I'm just trying to do this for a quick thing. So for this, you have seen that it actually does pretty good with doing a satin line here, fill stitch, multiple different layers here, but go ahead and try it out. Once you're done, you want to save and export. Save as, save it where you want. Make sure you export it with the machine you want to use it with. We always export into our software with Viking the Husqvarna just because we have that. It's easier to find it with our softwares. We have multiple softwares we use. It's just it's easiest. So you would save it or export it with this wherever, whichever. We have, like I said, multiple different machines, but export it with the one, and then you would just go, you would close out that one you were in, open it now in the other, in the main screen, open it, and then you can actually export it onto a thumb drive into the format you need. So, for instance, the VP4, PEZ, whatever you need it saved as. But that's where you would just go from there and then just run your pretty little hearts out, okay? So I really hope this video helped you out today. If you guys have any questions, comments, please leave a comment below. Remember to hit that subscribe button down below. Would totally appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing, wonderful, and beautiful day, and hopefully this video helped you out today. Thank you, and everyone have a wonderful day. And again, this is Katt with VCS Embroidery. Thank you. Bye.